Welcome back to the Soggy Taco Experience. My name is Tiago, and today I want to talk about a couple different series that I hold quite dear to me for one reason or another. I talked about some of these during my introduction video, but I wanted to give a bit more context. The first series that I want to talk about are Guardians of the Zodiac and Dragon Ball Z. This one's going to be a bit of a two for one just because I was introduced to these series under similar circumstances. I remember watching Guardians of the Zodiac for the first time with my uncle when I was about 5 or 6 years old. So I credit a lot of my anime kind of influence on him just because he was the one to introduce me to anime for the first time. I know growing up I had access to Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, DBZ like I mentioned, but Guardians of the Zodiac was the one that he loved, and it's the one that he was always most excited to show me whenever I would come over. I don't think I ever actually kept up with it afterwards, but there was a couple times while I was living in Mexico that Knights of the Zodiac actually is what it's called was on public broadcasting, and all I would remember would be those times when I would just be sitting in my uncle's room watching it with him, and it just always brought back fond memories. I actually still own a figure of Dragon Shiryu because he was my favorite when I was growing up. Why? Because I was 5 and I really liked dragons. That's pretty much it. I remember I think he went blind later on in the series, but I could be completely wrong because, like I said, it's been a long time since I've actually watched that anime. On top of that, my uncle also was the one to introduce me to Dragon Ball Z, but that one I ended up keeping up with over time. So why did I end up keeping up with Dragon Ball but not Knights of the Zodiac? Well, I mean, going back to public broadcasting in Mexico, Dragon Ball Z was huge, absolutely huge in Mexico. So it was a lot more easily accessible for me to catch up with and to keep up with weekly than Knights of the Zodiac. There was a couple times that I remember actually running home from school so that I could catch the next episode of wherever we were in the Frieza saga. And those are memories that I think will always be very dear to me. And I guess one last thing to add when it comes to why I love DBZ so much is I really love Gohan. I am so upset that he ended up not becoming the main character after the Cell Saga. But that aside, I still very much appreciate the work that Akira Toriyama put into Dragon Ball, and I really don't think my childhood would be uh, as memorable if I didn't have Dragon Ball Z in it. After that, there was a decent gap where I wasn't watching anime just because it wasn't as easily accessible, especially when I was living in Mexico since the internet was still pretty trash. So I would say that I didn't start watching anime again until I was a freshman in high school, and I believe the first one that got me back into anime was Death Note. And I remember being absolutely mind blown during the time that I was watching it. Some of my favorite moments are obviously a lot of them have to deal with L and Light, but aside from that, my favorite moment was when Light manipulated, I think it was Ray Pember, whatever the CIA agent's name's wife was. And I would say that that's one of my favorite moments because it really captured how Light was willing to do anything and sacrifice anybody, including a pregnant woman, to make sure that he was not caught. And there are so many other moments like that throughout the series where you just think to yourself, wow, Light is such a bastard. Or, wow, I can't believe Elle did that. That it just, I highly recommend anybody start. If they're looking into getting into anime, Death Note is top tier. Now, right before I go into the last show slash series that is quite dear to me, I kind of want to give some honorable mentions. Tokyo Ghoul is a big one for me, more so the manga than the anime. If I would recommend any part of the anime, I'd recommend season one, and then from there on, just read the manga. Suishida's art style is just absolutely incredible, and the whatever studio animated Tokyo Ghoul and Tokyo Ghoul Re does not do it justice by any means. Another big one for me would probably be Naruto because I grew up with it. I remember I was in my computer science class when I read the last chapter. And I remember having this feeling of thankfulness that I was able to read and keep up with Naruto for as long as I did on a weekly basis. The last honorable mention that I will bring up is Haikyuu because it's more recent in terms of I've been keeping up with the anime for a long time. I actually went and watched the movie in theaters as well, but I just recently finished reading the manga. And I can say with full certainty that it's a manga that taught me a lot about myself, taught me a lot about discipline, and taught me just to appreciate life to a different degree. And I would say that Hinata Shoyo is one of my top 10 favorite protagonists, not just in anime and manga, but across any medium. So finally, I would like to say that Attack on Titan is a series, if not the series, that I hold most dear to me. And I say that for a number of different reasons. Maybe not necessarily because of the content of the story itself, but because of the journey that I went on with Attack on Titan over the last 10 years. I was a freshman in high school when the anime first started airing, and to think that now at 25 I was finally able to see the ending animated is absolutely crazy to me. And Attack on Titan as an anime was elevated by so much more than its source material. I mean, it had scores by Hiroyuki Sawano for the first 3 seasons, and for the last, for the final seasons, I guess you would say, it was Kota Yamamoto who just did an absolutely amazing job. In addition, I mean, the animators truly outdid themselves both at Studio Wit and Studio Mappa. It, to me, Attack on Titan is the closest thing that I have had in my experience as an anime watcher to an all time classic. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate your guys' patience in my uploading schedule as well as just supporting me throughout this little hobby and yap session of mine. Please feel free to share, like, and subscribe. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. This is Sagi Taco, otherwise known as Tiago, signing off. Hasta luego.